This is TWiT.
Apple TV Plus is here. It has launched. It is available. And I've got to tell you, I have not had an opportunity to watch any of the shows, but I've heard good things about, and this is a specific question now that I think about it for Mr. Alex Lindsay over here. I've heard some really good things about the streaming quality of Apple TV Plus. Do you know if they're doing something different that makes it look better?
Yeah, they're not compressing it as much.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's like, I don't know anything secret.
Right.
But
yeah.
if you look at the bandwidth that people have been reporting, a 30 meg stream is a lot of data, for 4K, to put that online at that level. Most times when we're talking about 4K streaming, a lot of us are discussing 12 to 15 megs per second. And they're reportedly, according to some of the articles, I haven't tested it, but doing like 30 megs a second or 29 megabits a second, or, and it would peak bit rate of 41 is what they're saying in the article that you're showing there. And so that's just throwing I'm sure that they're spending a lot of time to make it look great. But at the same time, what they're also doing is just throwing more bits at the problem. And I think that it's absolutely necessary for them to do this because I think Disney's going to do the same thing. They're going to set, because the Netflix is all about quick start and all about, all kinds of other things. And it just looks, I know that when I'm watching Netflix, it looks best on my iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I make it any bigger than that, I'm going to be frustrated, and I think that when we saw the fiasco that was Game of Thrones on HBO Now,
it's so bad.
It was when my wife is like, when my wife asks, what is happening here? Like, why is this looking this way? Then you know that there's something very, very wrong. Yeah. I complain about everything, but when she's picking it out, it's a big deal. My kids, I had to explain to them what macro blocking was, and so I think that I think part of the competitive race between, I think mostly Apple and Disney they're going to predicate part of their value proposition on quality of the video, because we've been given really bad video even by our cable networks, Comcast and everything else.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Would my ISP have the ability to say, we don't feel like basically handling all that bandwidth, we're going to knock it down to 12?
They can. Yeah. So what happens is that when you're sending, and this is what actually happened to Game of Thrones in some cases. So what happens is that when you're running a compression, when you're streaming something to someone, you're streaming a whole bunch of resolutions. So you're providing on a server, you're saying, I've got all these resolutions. I got 16 versions of this that are everything from 4K to phone, right? And so there's all of these bits that are available on the server on the edge. And then there's a manifest, and that manifest is basically a document that just tells the ISP, this is what you have access to. You can pick this, you can pick this. And so usually that's done by the player. So the player is your Apple TV, your phone, whatever, is looking at the manifest and going, well, and it's looking at basically the performance, like how fast are the bits coming to me as a player. And it says, I think I'll move up, or this is way too much for me, I'm going to move down. And so when you see it changing, it's making a decision based on the performance that it's seeing in how quickly the bits are getting to it and this manifest that it has. Now, what the ISPs have the ability to do, and I've never seen them really do it that much, but I heard that they did it with Game of Thrones because the demand was so high, is that they basically manipulate the manifest. So they basically take out options. So when the player gets that manifest, as it comes through, when they took some of the stuff off the menu. They took the filet mignon off the menu.
4K? What is this 4K which you speak?
Exactly. Well, the worst part is that people get caught up when it comes to compression. They get caught up in resolution, when in a lot of times we would be better off with lower resolution but more bits per pixel. And so a 720 stream sometimes looks better than a 4K stream if you're at the same bit rate. If the bit rate is too low that it can't represent that 4K stream, you're just ending up with all kinds of blocks. You're ending up with Game of Thrones, and so we can just refer to Game of Thrones as bad compression and bad screenwriting. So anyway,
okay, send emails to Alex Lindsay. I don't want to be any part of that.
It was great until season.
Until they had that Starbucks cup in there. That's when it all went wrong.
No. They even admitted it. Like these guys, the showrunners admitted it last weekend that they didn't know what they were doing. So anyway, but but with the bits, chances are Apple's not going to create demand at the ISP level that is going to require them to do that. Game of Thrones was a unique situation where there's a lot of people that want to watch it live or want to watch it very near when it's there. And so Apple is creating Apple not that as many people want to see. So I think that I think that they we don't see that very often. I mean, usually you're getting those things. And as a user, I would much rather be told you're going to have to wait for half an hour to watch this, but it's going to be great. Yeah. I would prefer them to give me 80 megs a second. I don't care. And just tell me, like, I can schedule when I'm going to watch, like, hey, I'm going to download it. Because I don't watch the movies. I don't say watch movie. I say download the movie. Right. And then I go about doing what I'm doing. And when it's ready, I come back. And I want that to be a great experience. And I think that if you're talking about, Apple's talking about 4K, they're talking about, HDR. When you're talking about those things, having it be a crappy experience is not a good way to sell that technology, And so I think that they're definitely going down the right path. And I think they have to do it because I think Disney's Disney's been holding back 4K. So they haven't been giving anybody 4K. So it seems like that's what we're going to see there is really high quality from Disney as well. And they bought the BAMTech. So MLB, so Major League Baseball is why all streaming that you watch is they're one of the big definitions of HLS, which is how you get a lot of your stuff. A lot of that spec has been defined and pushed by MLB. They got in early and they streamed a lot, like a lot of stuff, and they had a lot of complaints and they have a lot of suggestions and they have a lot of things that they want.
It's one of the great stories of dog fooding where if this technology existed, we would make so much bank, but it doesn't exist, so we're going to have to develop it.
Right, and the level, like when you talk to anyone that has worked there, the like talking to them about how they manage redundancy and processes, like at a whole different level than anything that I usually do. So Disney bought them, and basically has been slowly pushing off clients as they, because they want to, they only care about their service, right. And so they have a state of the art team. They're pushing hard, and I think that it was very smart for Apple to go in and make sure that we're going to get a high quality experience on our expensive TVs.
Yeah. So will the Major League? This is a little off topic, but will Major League Baseball still be streaming that way, or are they going to also push them off too? Disney.
No. I think that Major League. I think that they're not going to push MLB off, but I think MLB has its own internal MLB. And now I'm going to say this on air, so I don't really know. I don't really know how the two of them are intertwined. They're not going to kick them off, but BAMTech was an offshoot of MLB that was for external clients. So I think that's what Disney ended up with. I don't think they ended up with the MLB infrastructure, which is astounding.